Ridiculous Crime is a production of iHeartRadio.
Zaron.
Hey, Elizabeth Dutton.
How are you, friend?
I've been better, but I'm good. I'm fine. I think I'm doing well. I'm
Good.
above boards and above the earth and, still up, sitting upright and taking nourishment.
There it is. Above ground and getting paid, as we say.
There you go. Yeah.
Love it.
On the right side of the grass.
Do you know what's ridiculous?
Oh, my God, yes. So it was just recently the Easter season, right? And
Yeah.
I was thinking about it because, like you, I was raised Catholic, and I used to love to tell my mom inappropriate Jesus jokes around the holidays.
Oh, you're not going to do it, are you?
Yeah, I'm doing a Jesus joke, Elizabeth. So what was ridiculous is I found one that I was like, oh, man, this guy's great. I got to send it to her, but I realized my mother doesn't do memes. But I thought I'd just share it with you.
Okay.
Because I'm going to see how well this plays as you just say it out loud, because I'm going to tell it to her on the phone. You ready? So here's the joke. This is from a guy named Burnett, who is Imagine a Guy on Twitter. There you go. So here's the joke. You ready?
Yeah.
Guy who only knows Jesus professionally. Honey, did you hear? They crucified our carpenter. No, I love that. They crucified our carpenter.
No, I don't love that.
It's hilarious. The guy who only knows Jesus professionally. No? I'm not going to explain it to you. It's so awesome.
Yeah, no,
it's ridiculous.
I get it.
It's ridiculous how excited I am to tell my mother that joke.
You really went out there on this one?
Yeah,
I applaud you for that.
It's an Easter thing between my mother and I.
Okay, and the Lord. You and the Lord.
He forgives
Got
me.
a lot to answer
He forgives
for.
me. It's so easy. I just ask. He's like, you're forgiven. And by the way, killer joke.
You got to mean it.
St. Peter and I were still chuckling.
Oh, boy.
I'm getting in. I'm like, they're going to grease the rails for me to get into heaven, Elizabeth.
That is true.
They're just going to, they got it all like a skid road. Just whoop.
Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Do you want to know what else is ridiculous?
Oh, I'd love to.
Being such a good con artist that you get recognized on the street. This is Ridiculous Crime, a podcast about absurd and outrageous capers, heists, and cons. It's always 99% murder-free and 100% ridiculous.
I know you done heard that.
Shape-shifting cons are fascinating to me.
Shape-shifting cons?
Shapeshifter. You know the ones who become whomever they need to be in the moment to pull one over on the mark?
Ah, okay, yes.
Like not literal shapeshifters.
No, I didn't think that's what you meant.
Lizard people.
I didn't think that's what you
The
meant.
lizard people.
Like
comments.
David Ickey's people?
Yeah,
No.
these are the people who make themselves so intriguing and so irresistible that people will get swept up and do whatever the con wants.
Ah, yes, the influencer cons.
People just want to be near them or to be liked or loved by them, to be part of their orbit.
Yes, just warm their hands by their fire.
Yes. I have one of those for you today, Sarah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Her name was Sofia Ivanovna Blush.
Is it now?
Blush.
Want to try again?
Yeah, Blush. Bluestein.
Want to try the whole thing again?
Yeah, bless me. Okay. Her name was Sofia Ivanovna Bluestein.
If you say so.
Bless me.
Bless you.
But everyone called her Sonia Golden Hand.
That is an amazing crime name.
She was the queen.
Oh my God, that's good.
Yeah, queen of the thieves in Imperial Russia.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and she was a femme fatale.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she lived this incredible life from start to finish.
How is she not more famous? I've never heard of this person.
I'm working on it, dude.
Yeah, build the foundation, Elizabeth.
Let's go back to the start. Let's start at the beginning.
Please.
She was born
A small black child.
She was born in a district of Warsaw.
Poor black child in Louisiana.
And back when she was born in 1846.
Sure.
Her area of Warsaw was just like a little village of 8 buildings next to a Russian army base.
That's not a village.
No. And
that's like a bunch of washer people get together and have a housing.
But it's like in this outskirt area of Warsaw.
Okay.
And that part of Poland was part of Russia back then.
Yeah.
So her early life story is a little hazy, in part because she told a lot of tall tales.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are nuggets of truth in there, but much of what we know is likely fabrication.
Also, great thing about the 19th century is somebody would come and take over your whole country and your country disappear. And you're like, oh, I used to be a count, but the country's gone. And then all of a sudden your country's back. You're like, oh, I'm fighting to get back my. So everybody's always so fluid.
It's totally
because
fluid.
of all the empire stuff.
And I'm fine with those fabrications. We're just going to rock it like it's it's the truth because Zaron, it's her truth.
It is. Let
She's
it
standing
shine.
in her truth. So she came from an eccentric and bohemian Jewish family.
Okay.
And bohemian in the sense of artistic and non-conforming, not geographically.
Yeah. Gotcha. I love those kind of families.
She liked to tell people that she was born into a family of smugglers.
Ooh, yes.
This is like, you love this. And it could have been true, but there's also evidence that her dad was a simple barber. But you know what? Why not both, I ask?
If Bob Dylan gets the backstory he wants, so does she.
Exactly. And what does it matter anyway?
Yeah.
It's
just a good story.
Yeah. So Sonia's house was usually full of shady foreign characters growing up.
I can relate.
People came and went, stayed for a while, helped out or got help, and then moved on.
I like it.
So if this was indeed a smuggler's house, she met a lot of criminals from all over with various specialties.
I like to say interesting fellows.
Interesting fellows.
Travelers.
Yes, fellow travelers. Because of this international parade through her home, she learned to speak 5 languages.
Damn.
Yeah, and this would come in very handy later because she would use the language skills to pose as like different nationalities.
Of course. Nice.
And she was also just this incredible mimic and observer. So she would watch and she became really acquainted with the etiquette of nobility and just memorized it.
Did she have like an opportunity to just study them? Like, did she work in like, a house or something?
Who's to say?
Okay, I was just curious.
Who's to say? So, but she started her criminal career when she was 13. She would steal stuff from third-class train cars.
Okay.
So
third class is such a crazy distinction.
Right? She'd get noticed in a first-class car.
What are you thinking when you're in second class? You got just enough money to not be in third class.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that is such a bizarre thing.
Well, so she'd stick out in first class. So, it was a different story in third class. Yeah, exactly. And she brought her sister with her. And apparently, like, her sister wasn't that great at theft, but Sonia.
And I'm Jeff.
Exactly. Sonia's amazing. And I say Sonia, right? Because it's weird translations where she's born Sophia, she gets called Sonia. She's
also
called
in Russia.
A ton of different things.
You ever read a Russian novel? You got to get like a chart out to keep the track of the names.
But yeah, she goes, at this point, she's Sonia.
Sonia, okay.
People start calling her Golden Hand because she's so adept at pickpocketing and palming goods.
Oh, I was wondering where the Golden Hand came from.
Yeah, she's super smooth with that.
She's the greatest
and
pickpocket.
And she's also just
purse.
beautiful. So that adds to the mystique and the legend of this like golden criming goddess.
And how close she can get to her victims.
Yeah, that totally is what helps. So when she's 15, she leaves home. She marries this tradesman, but it doesn't last long because, like, even though they're married, she got around. Like, she's fast.
She got a wandering eye.
Yeah, so she cheated on her husband just over and over again until finally he was like, I've had enough.
Yeah, you're embarrassing me. I can't even go to get a haircut without people laughing.
Right. So he takes off. Her second husband was a professional card sharper. And so he knew how to make money, and he expanded her repertoire from pickpocketing to just straight up fraud.
Oh, yeah. That's just a professional criminal. Like, that's all he knows. And so he has no marketable skills.
None. So she soaked up all of those
that's good on her.
Non-marketable skills, the knowledge, the advice, and
the black marketable skills.
Pretty soon, the student became the master.
Ooh.
Yeah. She started working alone. She's like,
I don't need
you're holding me back.
You're dead weight, son.
She could charm any man, like cops, detectives, soldiers, nobility, anybody would just, it was bizarre. Like she just had instant charm over them. And she was convincing in her seductions. These guys really honestly believed that she was in love with them and that she was just as gripped by passion as they were. And like these dudes would risk it all for her. They lost it all. Families, jobs, fortunes.
For real?
Oh yeah, they'd throw it all away for her. And for the most part, she would then slip away and move on to the next
one. To St. Petersburg.
Yeah. So she got married a lot.
Okay.
Newspaper reports on both sides of the Atlantic put the count at 16 marriages.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You said a lot. I was thinking 7.
No,
8.
and I think there's a lot of exaggeration back then in the papers. So we'll guess it's a little south of there, but still.
So this is like the yellow journalism era papers.
Oh,
where it's
100%.
Like, details, what do they matter?
100%. So the marriages, they're part of the con, of course.
Okay.
The bulk of her scams, they worked like this.
Okay.
She'd pass herself off as this upper-class woman, and she'd slip into strangers' hotel rooms early in the morning. and steal things.
Okay.
And if she got caught, like she'd see like it was a man's hotel room. If she got caught, she'd say she was confused as to what room she was in. She'd apologize. She'd leave. But she's so well dressed and so well mannered.
It's believable. Yeah.
And I'm so embarrassed.
And they want to be gracious and gentlemanly about it.
Right. She called this act the Guten Morgen.
Great. She's like in Ocean's 11.
Yes.
Should I pull a Guten Morgen?
So a variation of it is that if the resident of the hotel room was a gentleman who was like pleasantly startled to see her standing there, looking all gorgeous, she'd still act like she was confused and embarrassed for having gone to the wrong room, all apologies. But then she'd play it like she was so captivated by this guy, she couldn't help but look at him with this look of lust and desire on her way out the door. And she's like, oh, this is so embarrassing. She'd blush and then go to leave. And most of the time, the guy'd be like, no, stay. And so I too am gripped with desire and lust. So now, like, she's got her claws in him, right? So then, like, they'd hook up. They'd make promises to each other.
Okay.
And he'd offer her diamonds and jewels and money to come run away with him.
Oh, damn.
Because he's got this countess, who's all of a sudden in the room. And she'd rebuff him, and then she'd finally relent, and he'd hand over these gifts, and then suddenly she's gone. Poof.
And she could pull that over and over again on these guys?
Yeah. Oh. So she ran the largest gang of thieves in St. Petersburg. But you're saying something. It's like a sort of 40 elephants group. So she'd direct the group to steal various stuff, like shoplifting types of crime. And then like had certain fences for the goods. Some of them had to be accomplices or like play characters in her schemes, maids, and butlers, and that kind of stuff. Right. Everyone respected her and obeyed her. And so when there she is pulling off these larger scams, seducing men, taking them for all they're worth, and they're just doing like the street level stuff constantly. Yes. So one of her most famous small time heists happened in an upscale hat boutique. This luxury place. She was disguised as a foreign countess when she went in. So she rolls up into the shop just before it closes, and she said she wanted, quote, something suitable for the Vienna opera season.
Oh, of course. I love this. Yes, we've got a perfect hat for you.
So
and gloves to match.
The sales girl is like, oh my God, I've got like this countess here and she wants help. And she's all flustered. And she lays out the absolute most expensive hats in the joint. And Sonia, she tries on hat after hat. And she's asking for mirrors and she's adjusting the feathers.
And these are those big hats, right?
These
like with all feathers.
And she's like, oh, can I get a different veil on this one? And she's got the clerk running from room to room. But she's fun with it. And so the clerk is like excited.
Yeah, they're hunting for the perfect hat.
And thinking
together.
like, I'm about to make these huge sales right before we close for the day. Yeah, they're
good
in it
commission
together.
For her.
Yeah. So she, Sonia's trying them all. And then she like gasps, goes through her handbag and is like, oh my God, I forgot my wallet. This is horrible. So she's like, look, I'm going to go back to my hotel. I'll be back in 20 minutes. I'm just going to go get my purse. And so the clerk is like, okay, Sonia breezes out. Clerk goes to kind of gather up the hats that are all over the shop now and realizes that two of the most expensive ones are gone. And that Sonia had come in wearing this like really gorgeous velvet cloak. And she tucked the hats under the cloak when she swept out after her performance.
Yes.
So she had mentioned to the clerk that she was staying at the Grand Hotel, and the clerk sent someone to go get the countess and the money. Like, oh, she took two hats. So they get to the suite at the hotel, and there's a maid there who said the, quote, countess had just left for the port, that she was headed on a steamship to Constantinople.
Oh, yeah.
That's what the accomplice maid said to, like, intercept. So, sorry, too late. She didn't limit herself to St. Petersburg. She worked all over Russia.
And I'm assuming that was a feint, by the way. Like, she did not really go take the steamer. She was over there in the hideout.
Exactly. So she was all over Russia. She went beyond. In Moscow, she once went to this really high-end jewelry boutique and said that she was buying an engagement present for her niece. I need a stunning bracelet, she said. So bring me a tray of them. Let me see everything you have.
Put rocks on in front of me.
And the owner's like, okay. And like brings out this absolutely dazzling array of pricey pieces.
Yeah.
And she's portraying herself as this filthy rich woman. This could be a huge sale.
Oh, yeah. So he's putting all the ice he has on the glass. He's like, look at this, look at that,
completely.
Look at this.
So she's like pointing all these pieces and she's like feigning indecision and she's slipping the bracelets on and off her wrist and telling the jeweler that like everything's just too beautiful. I can't decide. Like maybe I should get one for myself too.
It's
you know, a little self-care, right? Treat yourself. So, you know, and it's just this fun whirlwind, right? So then just then a member of her crew, this boy posing as this really loud and insistent delivery boy, comes bursting in.
Okay.
And the jeweler is apologizing profusely to Sonia. And he's like, let me step away for a second and deal with this crazy delivery boy who's yelling at me now.
Yeah.
And that's when Sonia struck. So she palmed a bracelet and then replaced it with a nearly identical fake that she'd brought with her.
Oh, so they really cased the joint.
Oh, yeah. And she came prepared.
Yeah.
So what she stole was worth nearly 10,000 rubles. And that's like, at the time, the equivalent of a few years' wages for people. One bracelet. And so, you know, this accomplice of hers, the delivery boy,
the kid, yeah.
he makes this huge fit, and it turns out, oh no, I'm supposed to be next door.
Yeah, takes like a whack on the head and leaves.
Yeah, exactly. And then she's like, you know what? Let me think about it. I'll come back. So it wasn't until a couple days later that the jeweler noticed
Of course
the swap.
not. Yeah, because it's so identical. It's
Yeah,
like,
and
why
it
would
was
he-
too late because, like, by that point, she's totally long gone. In Odessa, she hit up this fashionable tailor's shop.
Yeah.
Once again, she's a countess, and she wants to commission a new bespoke travel coat.
Ooh.
And so she made the show of, she's like examining the fabrics, trying on all these samples. She asked the tailor to step into the back room to get her a better fabric swatch. Like, do you have this in a thicker fabric? So while he's gone, she quickly rolls up 3 embroidered coats into her travel bag, leaves a handwritten note thanking him, and then heads out the door. By the time he gets back, she's gone, and it's like thousands of rubles worth of merch. She once
One thing I'm noticing is that these shops are understaffed.
Yeah,
because
I
one
think
guy
that's
can
the
go
one
to the
person.
back, and another person should be there. I think they need to pay for at least another
Yeah,
person.
but you know what's thin margins?
Maybe family business. Maybe get a kid in there who can just like watch the door.
Exactly, that's what you need. So another one she did was she went to this high-end accessories boutique that specialized in gloves and fans. They don't make stores like that.
I was just about to say, it sounds like somewhere you would know a good one.
Well, because I usually carry a fan in my bag, especially in the warmer months. You never know when you're going to be overtaken by the heat.
So true.
You got to turn a schwitz into a glow.
I think I know what you mean. Yes.
So anyway, Sonia,
I'm so much past Schwitz. That'd be like backtracking to get to Schwitz.
It was this old man that owned the shop, and she just charmed him with like her polite, refined speech. And she told this tragic tale about her husband's death, that she was a war widow. He was high ranking and he lost his life in the Crimean War.
I was guessing. Yes.
Yeah. And so she distracts him with conversation and tea. And as she's doing this, she's discreetly sliding like a dozen silk gloves and 2 ivory-handled fans into her coat sleeves. And like she later
is keeping eye contact.
Yeah, and apparently she'd also sewn secret pockets into the lining of her clothing for exactly this purpose, like the 40 elephants
I was just about to say, yeah.
They were around the same time, like maybe they knew about each other. Anyway, when the shopkeeper discovered the theft after she'd left, he was too embarrassed to report it.
Really?
Because he'd been just smitten by her. And this young, beautiful, wealthy woman had wanted to hear what he had to say and had been paying full attention to him. And he hadn't noticed a thing as she's just like taking the valuable stock. So he was embarrassed.
Floating around, yeah.
Yeah. Let's take a break.
Yeah, okay.
We'll have more Sonia when we get back.
I'm loving her.
Zaron. Zaron.
Elizabeth.
Sonia Golden Hand.
Sonia Golden Hands. I'm still
incredible.
loving that name.
Her life is full of these kind of anecdotes of these little con jobs that she'd pull off. Jewelry shops, boutiques. Here's another one for you. I like this one. She pulled this one in a lot of different jewelry stores.
Okay.
So like she'd do the same, like I'm a baroness or a diplomat's wife or whatever. And she's
some
dressed
lady
all
of luxury
posh.
and her aristocracy.
Exactly, with just money to burn.
And also possibly silliness where she's like, oh, I forgot this thing. And could I have 3 of those?
Right, yeah, very kind of like a little absent-minded and fun.
Yeah.
So she'd have all these posh clothes and she'd have an immaculate manicure. But one of the nails was not hers. It was a custom-made false nail that was lacquered and painted to match her real ones, except this one was designed to open and close like a tiny hinged lid.
What?
Like, how long were her nails?
And how big were her nails? If you could hold anything behind that lacquered door.
She got straight Fritos on there.
Dude, that's crazy.
What is that?
My nails do not lift that high.
But I think
even if I had a door, were you putting a microchip in there?
Long and then I don't know.
I guess with the curvature.
With the curvature
and then
of
underneath.
It, and it's thicker so people can't see it. So she'd go into the jewelry shop in the full getup. Veil, gloves, furs. And that, she did this aristocratic boredom really well. And so she'd ask to see loose diamonds or unset stones because that's something that only a serious buyer wants.
Oh yeah, let me see them cold.
Yeah, and so the jeweler would lay them out, and they would talk about the cut and the clarity, and she would pick it up and examine it closely and hold it between her thumb and her forefinger, really close to her eye.
Sure.
And then in one motion, she'd slip the gem into the compartment beneath her false nail. And then she'd return a duplicate stone, a fake, or even sometimes nothing at all.
So a cubic zirconium or something like that, where it's a real cheap,
or just a piece of glass.
Oh,
and then
really?
Put it in there, palm the rest of the scene with chatter, compliments, she would just keep the whole show going. And then out the door. And it would always take them a few days before they'd realize it. And then there's no proof,
you don't know
no
who
forced
it was
entry. Yeah, exactly.
They
hadn't noticed anything.
She's getting basically the
little
rock
bits
at
a time. But if you're running these things maybe more than one a day, who knows?
That's a job.
Yeah. So she didn't always target merchants though. In October of 1884, there was this banker named Dogmarov. He was sitting in a cafe in Odessa.
Okay.
And a bodacious babe caught his eye. She's stunning. She made eye contact back. He goes over and introduces himself.
My name is Sonia.
No, I am Mrs. Sofia San Donato.
Oh.
That's a great alias.
That's great.
Sofia San Donato.
And she can do all the languages, so of course be Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah, this Italian lady ripped me off.
Yeah, exactly. So she chats for a while, flirts it up, and then she asks him for a favor. She's like, I'm so sorry. This is so embarrassing. But I was hoping that you could change 1,000 ruble bill for me.
Is that common?
That was the big stuff. Dang, that's a big bill.
Did anyone ask that?
He's like, of course, I work at a bank. Come by the bank later. She's like, oh, that's so great. And then she's like, the thing is, I'm leaving for Moscow on the train tonight. And he's like, wait, so am I. He's like, I got to take some stuff to the main bank over there. Why don't we travel together? Brilliant. She's like, what a coincidence. Yes. I had no idea you were going to be on that train. She's got eyes and ears everywhere. She's planned this out. So they continue chatting, and then they meet up at the train station later. Mm-hmm. And they shared a sleeping compartment, which I'm sure was a delight for Dogmarov.
I'm betting.
Yeah, so they continue their chat. They're cracking each other up. They're sharing.
We're talking peak life moment for Dogmarov.
Right? He picked up this rich lady and
he's on a train, a sleeper car. She's a stranger. Everything's his life is sexy, romantic fun.
They're having these deep conversations.
Oh, they're having deep conversations.
Then they indulged in a luxurious box of chocolates.
They had luxury chocolates.
Luxury chocolates.
Now, this is one of my peak life moments he's just describing. Damn, Dogmarov.
So night fell. By morning, he had enjoyed a sound, contented sleep.
I bet. Sleep with the pleased.
The light began to peek through the curtains in the train car, and he looked around. No Sofia San Donato.
No.
He reached for his travel case. The cash he'd been carrying was gone.
No.
As well as 43,000 rubles in securities documents.
Oh, God.
Yeah, she took them. There was one heist, though.
One thing I got to say about that. That sucks to go from that peak moment to the absolute. The mountain is flipped, and now you're at the bottom of the valley that was just as high as the mountain.
Because you think about it,
God, that's got to be.
You
rough.
have to explain what happened.
All of it.
You've got chocolate on your shirt,
lipstick on your collar, and chocolate on your shirt. Son, what happened?
What happened? You don't understand. So there's this one heist. So this is the one that cemented her as queen of the thieves and the ultimate con artist.
Yeah.
It was a full-on con.
Okay.
It was a grand performance with identity theft, seduction, forgery, escape.
Oh, I'm buying the ticket.
So she pulls this off with complete elegance and cunning. Mm-hmm. And when it was revealed, it pretty much made Golden Hand a household name across Imperial Russia.
Go on, tell me it.
It's called the Von Mel heist.
The Von Mel heist.
May 1883.
1883, okay.
So Sonia showed up at the Von Mell jewelry store, done up in all her finery. This time, she was not a countess or a baroness. She said she was the wife of a very well-known and very wealthy psychiatrist. That she said she was in the market for some fine jewelry. She wanted to treat herself, and her husband said, you know what, spare no expense. Knock yourself out.
Reasonable.
He came from money. He wanted her to have it all. So she picked out a bunch of different pieces with a value altogether of almost 50,000 rubles.
Okay.
That was an incredible sum.
That's big.
That's like the equivalent of showing up on a whim to a jewelry store today and being like, show me $2 million in baubles.
My husband says I've been a good
just because they feel
girl.
like it.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Let's celebrate me. So she picked out what she wanted. She gave the jeweler her home address. She said that her husband had the money to pay for it. She certainly wasn't going to walk around with that kind of cash on her.
And from what we've talked about previously in Russian exchanges, you can get your bill settled up much later.
Yeah. There's a lot.
This is a lot of this is very understood.
But she wasn't taking possession of the jewelry right then.
Okay.
She was like, bring it to my house, and my husband will pay you. It'll be easy that way. It's like you'll cash on delivery.
Totally.
Zaron.
COD, huh?
COD. Close your eyes.
Oh, my eyes are closed.
I want you to picture it. Yeah. You are a courier for Carl von Mell, a fancy jeweler. He made a huge sale today, and the two of you are off to deliver it to the woman who bought the gems. Apparently, her husband is incredibly wealthy, filthy rich, and he's going to pay upon delivery. You're carrying the case with the jewelry in it, and Von Mell is there to get the money and schmooze up with the couple. The two of you walk briskly down a leafy boulevard in St. Petersburg. It's a lovely spring day. The sun is out and the chill is fading from the air. Horses with shiny coats pulling gilded carriages roll by on the street. You are in a very nice neighborhood. The horse and carts where you live are more, shall we say, rustic. People in their finery, well-crafted hats and luxurious coats of embroidered fine fabric brush past you on the sidewalk with polite nods and smiles. Von Mell is giddy. He makes some big sales at the shop, but nothing like this. And the potential for establishing a good relationship with this wealthy couple has him excited. There's a pep in his step. He's promised you a bonus, too. You're in your best suit, looking clean and sharp. This is a great day. You reach the address the woman gave you and ring the bell. After a pause, the large, lacquered door opens and a butler appears. He welcomes you out of the din of the street and into the dark, lush interior of the townhome. Von Mell announces himself, and the butler leads you down a rich hallway, shined parquet floors and walls thick with expensive oil paintings, to a very comfortable and inviting study. Heavy leather club chairs face a rich mahogany desk with intricate carved scrollwork. A grandfather clock ticks behind you. The woman is waiting in the office and rises from one of the chairs to greet you. You doff your cap. Von Mell bows and kisses the woman's offered hand. She invites him to sit in the chair beside hers. He accepts and instructs you to stand where you are to the side. She tells Von Mell that her husband will be in momentarily and how much she appreciates the home delivery. She shoots you a sparkling smile and a small wink. You go weak in the knees. She's so beautiful, and she has this quality you can't quite put your finger on. But you get this flash that maybe she's sweet on you? Oh, that can't be. But the look was undeniable. You blush a little. The grandfather clock chimes 2. Von Mell clears his throat and tells you to present the case to Madame. You approach the woman and gently hand her the case full of jewels. She takes it in her soft hands. You look at the turn of her wrist. She is intoxicating. You blush again and step back to your spot against the bookcase. Just then, the door to the study opens. An older man in a perfectly cut suit strides in, followed closely by 2 other men in white outfits. The husband asks Von Mell what he's doing there. Von Mell pauses, a little confused, and compliments the psychiatrist on his beautiful wife's incredible taste. Now, if he could just get payment for these items. The 2 men in orderlies' whites come from behind the psychiatrist and grab Von Mell by the upper arms. They lift him from the chair and begin to drag him out of the room. Von Mell is stunned. He protests, but they're having none of it. Von Mell calls out for you, and you look back and forth at the psychiatrist and his wife. You briefly contemplate grabbing the case of jewelry, but this whole thing is so strange that you just stand there in stunned silence. The psychiatrist shouts in a booming voice for you to leave, to get out of his office. You put your head down and make for the door. When you get out on the street, you see Von Mell being crammed into a carriage marked St. Petersburg Asylum on the side. He's still protesting as the carriage rolls away. You can't go back to the shop. You don't have a key. You decide to head home and hope everything makes sense soon.
Wow.
Yeah, Zaron, what just happened?
I think homie just got shanghaied to a mental hospital.
We need to rewind a little bit. So before Von Mel and the fictional Zaron arrived at the home, Sonia got there first, and she asked to see the psychiatrist. And, of course, she's not married to him. We knew that. But how did she get into the house? She introduces herself to the psychiatrist as Von Mel's wife. And she said that her husband was old and confused, losing his mind. It's impacting his business. It seems that he'd bought far more diamonds than he could afford, and it was kind of made him snap. That he was going around telling people that they'd ordered diamonds and that he was there to deliver and take payment. And he'd done this for a couple weeks now, and he's just totally crackers. She needs to get him help. He'd had a full-on nervous breakdown. She's like, I need to have him committed.
This is so brilliant.
Yeah, so she pays the psychiatrist up front for the treatment. She's like, my husband will be here shortly, and you know what? He's going to put up a fight.
Get your biggest guys.
But this is for his own good. That he just needs to be hauled away, no matter what he says.
Amazing con.
And he was hauled away, as we saw. And then Sonia and the jewels, gone. So obviously the jeweler and the psychiatrist, they figured it out, later on what had happened. But at that point,
she's gone. Yeah, all she needs is that night's ride, she's
and
gone.
That's it. So let's pause here. When we get back from these ads, I'm going to tell you how things finally caught up with Golden Hand.
Hell yeah.
Zaron.
Yes,
Zaron. Golden Hand.
Dude, I'm still reeling from that story. That's a lot of old radio shows. They had an episode on suspense that basically did that. It was slightly different, but where they conned, it was the doctor was conning people. And then when the cops would show up, he would con the cops into believing that the people he'd abducted were mentally unwell. And that's why they were protesting. And so he was and he's doing experiments on fear. It was a great episode, but that's a much better use of the same idea.
I was thinking about how at this time, it's like this burgeoning science.
Yeah. And it's very well respected, and they're trying to help people, and this is for your own good.
And they're seen
they're
as
going to take you off.
Serious scientists and doctors.
But they can throw you in a rubber room in one of those straitjackets, and there's nothing you can do for 72 hours.
Right. And so for this one, it's especially if she's so put together.
Yes,
and
believable.
she presents herself, and
you want to save her from this man. And all you have to do is just lock up her husband, and
she pays for it.
And then, of course, that dispels all suspicion.
Yeah. So she's doing these kind of that's the big one where everyone's just like, wow, respect. Yeah. That was amazing.
That masterpiece.
Yeah. But she doesn't just hit Russia, like I said. She pulled these scams all over Europe.
That's right.
And she played the countess or the rich lady. She would seduce guys and get them to lavish her with expensive gifts. She did some of the merchant ones as well. But
of course, you got to get traveling money.
Yeah, mostly it was she would just travel in these high
it's the same thing
circles.
As the sting. You're going to have your big scores, and then you got to have your little scores in between your big scores.
Right. And so she'd promise marriage a lot of times, and then usually bailed before that could happen. But obviously, sometimes she had to go through with it and marry the guy.
Oh, really?
That's how she racked up all those marriages.
So she really did stand there in front of somebody and say the words.
But I don't think it was her name.
Oh, exactly, but she went through the process.
And along the way, she had 2 kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
You really you saved that one.
Yeah, so she has these 2 kids. She was
on purpose,
or
girls. Oops.
Yeah, she's 2 girls. She was able to send them off to really, really expensive and prestigious boarding schools in Europe. Yeah. And she didn't want them to know what she really did.
Oh.
So they were just
cartel daughters.
Yeah, total cartel daughters. And so pretty soon, though, she shows up in America. At least she did, according to our papers.
What?
Well, in reading
claimed her?
Yeah, in reading all the accounts, it seems like some of the stories that they tell are almost identical to tales of her exploits in Russia and across Europe. Too much of the detail is exactly the same.
Okay.
Maybe, she has a set playlist of what she does.
Sure.
But I think that in that era, like you were saying before, yellow journalism, that they just grabbed wire stories and made them their own.
Syndicated stories were a new thing, basically. Yeah. And so you would take a story and know that nobody in Topeka had seen this, so you could run it.
And then there's one where they're I almost felt like they were going to run a story and knew that people would call them on it, so they created even more of a backstory. So
Really?
this article from the Brooklyn Citizen in July of 1889 that claimed that Golden Hand once lived in Brooklyn.
She's a local girl.
How did they know this? They said, the paper said they got a letter from an American official who was living in Paris who told of her exploits in the United States. And the stories were supposedly backed up by the recollections, quote, of an old Brooklyn detective. An old Brooklyn detective who happened to be an ex-Pinkerton detective, too.
Oh, of course. Does he named or does he go unnamed?
Unnamed.
Of course. There you
So
go.
from the article, quote, Golden Hand's husbands, continued the official, like the numerous fictitious names which she adopted, were taken from all nationalities, and she regarded neither age nor creed in choosing her victims. She ran away from 2 in France, 3 in Germany, 1 in Spain, 1 in England, and others in Italy, besides several in Russia and the United States. She was in America in 1878, and I saw her there, but she had a new assumed name, and was so rehabilitated in appearance that I did not recognize her until one night after having met her several times. The next day she disappeared with a confiding broker's diamonds, and I did not see or hear her again until some 2 or 3 years afterwards when she appeared in Paris.
Wow.
I love that he's saying she looks totally different, but it had to be her.
Yeah, I saw her a while back, and then I was like, this is a new look for her.
The letter to the paper is supposed to be like completely like unsolicited.
Yeah, and also that it goes unnamed. He's not giving any details that you can be like, oh, not just it's something he could confirm, but it would make sense like why he would come across her like, oh, we did this. She told me about this and connect her to Russia. It's just like, okay, you met Golden Hand. Okay, sure, buddy.
Well,
sure.
then let's go with it, though.
Okay, fine.
It makes it more interesting.
It happened, Clarence. Let's say it happened.
If she made it stateside.
Yeah, I do like that.
So the reporter was like, I got this letter and I ignored it because I thought it was stupid.
I thought he published it.
You'll find, then, so he gets the letter. Then there's a description of this lady con artist that sounds familiar. So the reporter finds the old letter and then runs the stories by an ex-Pinkerton who said that the description from the American in Paris was spot on with a woman he had followed in Brooklyn in 1872.
Do we think this is one of those journalists who's making up their sources?
100%.
And then he makes up a source for his made-up source?
That's what I think.
He's now doubling down on like his... and then he adds a whole little, I dismissed it previously.
Yeah, it's showbiz, baby. So apparently, according to the ex-Pinkerton...
Shattered glass.
God. She was calling herself Miss Pauline Clancarty then.
Wow, that's a heck of a name.
So she's a Russian pulling off like a convincing Irish woman.
Yeah.
She was
you
living,
got the red hair. You know,
she was living with a Frenchman, Card Sharp.
Who hasn't done that?
In Brooklyn Heights, right? Who among us? In Brooklyn Heights.
It's either that or a saxophone player.
French sharp.
I'm in the mood.
Card Sharp or a saxophone. So she'd seduce men, and then the Frenchman would storm in and act like her enraged brother.
Oh, wow.
Irate that someone had taken his sister's virtue. And then they'd blackmail the guy, who was almost always married, and the guy would pay the French, quote, brother to keep him calm and quiet.
That's like something you'd expect in like Deadwood.
Right. Yeah, it's so bizarre. One wealthy merchant, though, he'd had enough. He contacted the detective, and this is from the article, quote, "It took me but a short time," said the old detective, continuing his story, "to find proofs of the conspiracy. But the old merchant had not the moral courage even then to face a public scandal. By shrewd work, the agency for which I was then working managed to frighten the Frenchman into leaving the country, and finding that the merchant would no longer suffer the imposition practiced upon him, the adventuress soon afterward disappeared, probably to join her fellow swindler in some new field of action. Referring to thick volumes of criminal history, the detective traced the career of a woman who, he is sure, was identical with Golden Hand in various schemes in other parts of this country.
One thing I love about especially like the 1890s, 1880s, they write like they have so much time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just
not a care in the world.
We're going to get to the point.
Oh, yeah.
But first, I want to take you through some details and some turns of phrase.
Slow it down. I like that. Slow it down, everybody.
Field of action.
So the detective said that he caught up with the woman a couple years later in Baltimore.
Oh, God, he's not letting
this
go.
Now, at the same time, she's supposed to be ping-ponging all over Europe. But anyway.
So apparently she makes her scores and comes over to celebrate in Baltimore.
I want an 80s-style T-shirt that says Golden Hand with like the cities listed below. Like
a
Odessa, Moscow, Paris, Baltimore.
Oh, no, like that? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Fresno, throw that in there.
A Hard Rock Cafe title shirt,
yes. So the detective was chasing an embezzler at the time. This is a guy who'd gotten a gig as the treasurer at a religious society in New York, and then he made off with $35,000 of their funds. So as the detective described it, quote, "This sanctimonious fraud was a good deal of a swell."
Deal of a swell.
He was running with the fancy folks.
Yeah, he's fat cats.
So the detective went undercover, as you do.
Of course.
He ran with the rich and fabulous of Baltimore, too.
Got himself a big walrus mustache and had fun.
Oh, my God, yes. And so it was there that he crossed paths with Golden Hand, or so he told the paper.
The story goes.
Yeah. So he said that she was posing as a young Russian heiress named Princess Nita Alexandria Romanov.
Nita Romanov?
I need a Romanov.
Who needs a Romanov?
By estimates with what he knew later, she had to be like in her 40s, but he said she looked like she was in her 20s.
Oh, well, there you go.
So it was definitely her.
Great skincare.
Yeah. The detective told the reporter,
"What is your routine?"
Quote, "She was supposed to be unable to speak much English and was accompanied by a vinegary old Russian woman who passed as her aunt and performed the functions of a chaperone with hawk-like vigilance."
Oh, somebody got denied.
Yeah, vinegary. I love this quote. Quote, "The Princess Nita was quite the rage in Baltimore society when I made my debut as an amateur dude. And she was certainly a captivating creature. Surrounded with all the accompaniments of wealth, she was greatly improved in appearance, though I at once recognized her as the same blackmailer whom I had driven out of Brooklyn. It took some time to get a trace of the oily rascal for whom I was looking, and I saw the princess often. She was reputed to have endless wealth, kept a stylish turnout, and lived in a mansion taken for the season."
I cannot tell which I prefer to imagine, that he made all this up and then he makes himself this dude who's chasing after the Golden Hand and she's denying him, but he still is there. Or if this actually did happen and he was just another schmuck who she basically got excited and then turned
amateur
loose
dude.
And he got burnt too. And now he's like, "Oh, I ran her out of Brooklyn."
Apprentice rude
sure
dude.
You did.
Yeah, right?
Either way, his story is like, man, come on.
Well, so one night, the detective's at this posh party at some banker's house. And he's wandering around. He found a place in the conservatory to smoke a cigar. Okay. And he's trying to keep an eye on that embezzler that he's tracking.
And that place was not outside.
No.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So he's tracking the embezzler.
Mm-hmm. With a cigar.
With a cigar. Wants to keep an eye on him. So he posted up behind a plant. In the conservatory.
I'm just gonna keep
and
saying
did
that.
a little stakeout. Like he just sat in a chair all tooting on it. And pretty soon he hears the rustle of a ball gown behind him and whispering. And then a couple brushes past him and goes into an alcove next to him. And they didn't see him, according to him.
Because he was so well hidden behind the plant with his cigar.
He peeked at them through the plant's fronds and he watched the whole scene. It was very Dear Penthouse.
Oh. So they were caught canoodling?
He saw Princess Nita, quote, all a-tremble with emotion, hanging on the arm of a scion of a leading Baltimore family who pressed one of her hands fervently. In the alcove, the youth dowered forth a passionate appeal, urging the princess to fly with him that night, etc.
Etc.
Etc. is my... Oh,
pressing hands, like he's
pressing.
Just touching flesh.
You're just like... Pressure.
I dare to impress upon you.
I know. Rustling,
my passion.
The rustling of fabric.
Do you feel my heartbeat in my hand?
But so then he hears Nita, who supposedly doesn't speak English, confess her love to the guy in perfect English.
Of course.
And she said she wanted...
That's not hard to say, me too.
Me too. Ditto. She said, I want to run off with you tonight. 100%.
Yeah, totally.
I'm down.
Except...
But I doubt your devotion. I doubt your devotion to Sparkle Motion.
Yeah, I want to see it like in money.
Where's your commitment? Yeah. So are you using me just in this moment? Are you just caught up in the intoxicating moment of it all? Yeah. Like, how do I know that you're true is what she's asking.
Make it real.
So he pulls from his pocket a handful of diamonds, according to the detective.
Okay.
So apparently he knew he was going to meet up with the princess and he wanted to impress her. So he stole his mom's diamonds. Worth 10 grand.
Damn.
And he hands them to Nita, possibly Golden Hand, as proof of his love.
Okay.
And so suddenly, let
these cool your concerns.
The diamonds hit her golden hand. Suddenly, that, quote, vinegary chaperone shows up.
Yeah.
And she's got this big, scary Igor dude with her.
Oh, yes.
They pitch a fit. And they, whisk the princess away. Igor's like, I'll meet you outside tomorrow, and I'll beat you. And so the rich fail son is just weeping. The next morning, Princess Nita Alexandra Romanov's mansion... empty. No sign
naturally.
of the entourage.
Yeah.
They've skipped town.
Her and then the vinegary matron and the cauliflower-eared guy, they're all gone.
Gone. There were sightings by this detective of Golden Hand in other cities before she scooted off back to Europe. One was in Cincinnati.
Naturally. River City, come on now.
She seduced a lawyer there.
Okay.
As you do.
They got lawyers there.
Back in Mother Russia, Golden Hand had become a folk hero.
How so?
Well,
besides the great name.
Everyone loved the stories of her exploits. So it got to the point where people were recognizing her on the street.
I was wondering,
and that's
maybe
not good for business.
That's never good for business.
No.
I thought people were doing like pamphlets about her, where it's all of a sudden now you got sketches of her.
They were writing songs.
Oh, damn.
And she's in the paper, and everyone loves the stories of the exploits.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so it's like it's getting harder for her to do this.
Impossible, it sounds like.
As she got older, she also got a softer touch, like not with crime, but other humans. So she became more and more charitable. And that only enhanced her reputation as this folk hero, but also made her more vulnerable. Her daughters were thriving. They grew up. One went into the theater and they knew who their mother was at that point, but like didn't let anyone else know.
But she became an actress because
had different names.
Natural talents.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in the bones.
So in the end, she got busted for going too big.
How so?
Thank you for asking.
See what I did there?
Yeah, I did. That was good. She found herself in the court of the Tsar in the presence of the Shah of Persia.
Oh, wow.
And she tried to pull a move and take the Shah's jewels and got caught.
Oh, no.
Like she had her private train car attached to the Shah's special train.
Wow.
But then like everyone got wise to her.
She's romanced the Shah. Oh,
It's one thing to hit merchants in like low-level nobility.
Yeah, no, but the Shah.
But she went after a big dog in the biggest dog's house.
Yeah, and that's like emperor visiting emperor. So you can't rip him off. They're both going to be pissed.
And they were. So she gets arrested. She stands trial. Convicted. They shipped her off to Siberia.
Ooh.
Yeah. She wasn't there long, though.
We hear you like ice.
Before she seduced the warden.
Of course.
So they get married and they run off.
Get married?
Yeah, they run off together to Constantinople.
He leaves the prison.
Leaves the prison. He's like, run away with me. She's like, of course, I'd love to. Constantinople, now Istanbul. So she left him there and then went back to Russia. And she was living under the radar for 2 years before they caught her again. Just, going about her business. She goes to trial again when she gets caught. Her defense lawyer...
I guess she didn't like Constantinople.
Yeah, I guess not. Defense lawyer got to see her in action. Because after the trial... He goes to visit her in prison, and she just keeps telling him how grateful she is for his hard work, even though she'd been sentenced to go back to Siberia. Please accept this token of thanks, she says. And she hands him a gold watch and chain, and she puts it on the table in front of him. He looks down, and he's like, I recognize that. That's my watch and chain. She picked his pocket and presented him with his own watch.
She's like, oh, this is yours?
Yeah, yeah.
So I should have given this to the judge.
She gets sent to Smolensk, escaped there a couple times.
Escaped?
She would disguise herself as a soldier. And
I thought she got she'd seduced a soldier and got him to
she escaped. Then
that's awesome.
So then
Good
they're like,
for her.
okay, we're going to send you to the prison on the island of Sakhalin.
Oh, in the north?
Yeah.
Ooh.
This is the territory that the Russians were fighting with the Japanese over.
Rough.
Very
business.
remote. She skipped out there a couple times too, but she would get caught, and they finally put her in solitary there. And she was basically tortured. They kept her in chains. They sold photos of her like that as postcards, and those became really popular all over Russia.
Chains?
Yeah, all chained up and beaten.
Gross.
The Russians are dark souls, dude.
Well, I don't mean, whatever. But that's just ugh.
She said that the postcard was the worst punishment.
Of course.
Her
that's
quote,
terrible.
this is such a picture of human degradation. They tortured me with these photographs.
I completely agree.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not only did they dehumanize her, but then they made her an image of dehumanization.
Right. So while she was there, she had visitors.
She's the living symbol now. I mean, that just sucks.
Anton Chekhov came calling.
Hell yeah, Chekhov.
1890.
He's like, I'm going to name Uncle Vanya after you.
He wrote, quote, looking at her, it is impossible to believe that not long ago she was beautiful to such a degree that she charmed her prison guards, as she did in Smolensk, for example, where the overseer helped her to escape and himself ran away with her. He described her as, quote, small, skinny, already graying woman with a crumpled, old womanish face. And at this point, she's in her late 40s.
Yeah.
So it took a toll. But
it sounds like it. Well, Siberia is rough.
Oh, God. 5 or so years later, though, she's doing better.
I'd be willing to bet you, if you look back, she was like, let me tell you a little story about his shotgun.
Right. There's this article in the Southern Daily Echo in Hampshire, England, that relayed the experiences of a man who visited the Russian penal settlements there in Sakhalin. Quote, books have been written and songs sung throughout Russia about the Golden Hand, who now lives in a pretty cottage on the outskirts of Raikovskaya. I did not say that properly.
I wouldn't know that otherwise.
And supplies the village with eggs and vegetables. Sophie Blofstein, that's the name she was using then.
So she had a garden and some chickens she was keeping?
Yeah. Received me very graciously, and we passed a pleasant hour together, for my hostess spoke French and German fluently and was not unacquainted with London. She's a small, slightly built woman with sharp, clearly cut features and clear blue eyes, and still shows traces of beauty that even prison life has failed to obliterate. So they chat about London and Paris. She's like, I love Paris. London's almost as depressing as sad as here.
As Sakhalin?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, like, way to exaggerate.
Yeah, exactly. A little hyperbole, girl.
So the author...
The weather's not that bad.
Yeah. The author notes at the end of his account, quote, notwithstanding, she is a pleasant, cheerful little person.
Cheerful little
She's a cheerful little gal. So she died in 1902 in Sakhalin. In addition to the folk songs, she was immortalized in Russian films and literature. There's TV, series.
Oh. I want to look for some stories on
What's wild is that there's this headless statue in a cemetery in Moscow that is said to be her grave.
Why is it headless?
It's just stylized, kind of just this body. There's debate about whether that is her grave, because a lot of people are like, she's actually buried in Siberia. But most believe that she's buried in that cemetery. And it's become this place of pilgrimage.
I love that.
So her admirers, to this day, leave tokens and seek like spiritual assistance in their criming.
Really?
There are messages there that say stuff like, Sonia, help us to become good thieves.
She's a patron saint of crime?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, Zaron, what is your ridiculous takeaway?
That, of course, Russia would have patron saints of crime. I love that. It's like the Narcoleros. Like, oh, yes, we have songs about crime. We have patron saints of crime. Russia's like, yes, duh, we understand.
We have the queen.
We have folk heroes of crime. What is yours, Elizabeth? What's your ridiculous takeaway?
I was
You're
shocked.
welcome for asking.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you, Elizabeth, for asking, Elizabeth. I was really shocked. I had never heard of her.
Same.
Stumbled upon her.
What an incredible name, incredible story.
What's interesting, too, is that there was like a TV series, I think like in the 90s or
Russian
2000s.
TV?
Yeah, in Russia, that a lot of news articles tell her story based on that. But then I found an interview in a Russian language paper that I translated out where they're like, yeah, we made up like 90% of the story. And so, but people didn't find that. And so it's really hard parsing out. Like,
you had to go to like Russian papers.
Yeah. But it was, I just can't believe we haven't heard more about her. She's fascinating.
Such a great story. But also, how are you going to try to rip off the Shah of Persia while he's hanging out with the Emperor of Russia?
Yeah.
Come on now.
Think before you do
I guess she was just desperate and wanted like her retirement.
Tired.
This is like one last.
That was probably it. That was probably it. I think we need to talk that.
Hell yeah, we do. Producer D, can you favor us with one?
Talk that. Oh my God, did he just say that?
OMG.
I had a 4th grade student commit a ridiculous crime. What she did was independently write and print permission slips for the class to go to the zoo and then to Walmart to practice being Walmart greeters. It was $5 cash that must be paid to her as she is the teacher's aide for the field trip, and she collected over $50 in cash from her classmates. She would have gotten away with it, except on the day of the supposed field trip, a parent called to see if their child needed to bring lunch.
Oh my God, our little golden hand. Wow.
That was brilliant.
That is brilliant and funny and terrifying.
Well, cheers to her.
Yeah. God bless. Look, you gotta take care of yourself.
Both mother and child.
That's it for today. Whew, that's a good one. You can find us online at ridiculouscrime.com. We're on Blue Sky and Instagram. You can email us, ridiculouscrime@gmail.com. Of course, leave a talkback on the iHeart app. But then also, we have episodes on YouTube now. So we're trying to make it easier for people who use YouTube as like their everything player. We're going to start putting new episodes in there and like a steady stream of earlier ones. The episodes have looped animation, so you don't get to look at our ugly mugs. So they're meant for like if you have YouTube on in the background while you're doing other stuff.
Yeah, while you're working or cleaning.
Yeah. But the animation's amazing.
Watching your dog.
It's so cute. Yeah. Watching the dog.
Yeah, the animation, they did a great job. Incredible.
And then it's also worth subscribing for people who listen in other ways because we're planning on putting like exclusive new short bits and surprises in there for time to time.
It'll be a whole different channel of stuff.
Yeah.
Not a different channel. That channel, but a different stuff you won't hear here.
Right. You won't find it anywhere else.
Here, that's weird.
Here. It'll only be on YouTube.
Yeah.
So subscribe even if that's not like your everyday thing. Basically, connect, guys. So there it is. Ridiculous Crime is hosted by Elizabeth Dutton and Zaron Burnett. Produced and edited by the original Golden Hand, Countess Dave Kustin. Starring Annalise Rutger as Judith. Research is by Silvertoe Marissa Brown. The theme song is by Tin Elbow Thomas Lee and Copper Knee Travis Dutton. Host wardrobe is provided by Botany 500. Guest hair and makeup by Sparkle Shot and Mr. Andre. Executive producers are Bronze Ankle Ben Bolin and Nickel Jaw Noel Brown.
Ridiculous crime.
Say it one more time.
Ridiculous crime.
Ridiculous Crime is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.